All right, just in the interest of time, we'll get started with our Executive Dialogue 1, Ensuring a Sustainable Cold Chain by India at 100, powered by Danfoss. As India's population grows, food security and hunger will remain the most pressing concerns for the next few decades. Further, the sector continues to experience significant post-harvest losses, which is a cause of increasing distress for India's smallholder farmers. This session will be chaired by Mr. Ravichandran Purushottamam, President and Chairman, Danfoss Industries Private Limited. Since 2022, Mr. Purushottamam has been handling several roles at Danfoss across South Asia, Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany. Sir. He's a member of the Danfoss Global Management Team and board member and global mentor. He's an active CIIM member and a member of the Working Group on Food Systems Transformation in the World Economic Forum. The panelists, Dr. Nitin Goyal, CEO and founder, Inficold India Private Limited. Dr. Goyal has over 20 years of experience with more than 15 patents under his belt. He is a graduate from IIT Bombay and holds a PhD from the University of Florida in solar refrigeration. In the past, he was an R&D committee member at MNRE, formed to fund research projects in solar energy. With over 14 years experience in evidence-based policy advisory, enabling private investment and project management across food and agri-logistics sector. And finally, Mr. Ashish Fotedar, Chief Operating Officer, National Center for Cold Chain Development. Mr. Fotedar has over 20 years of rich experience in designing and executing turnkey refrigeration projects. His notable contribution during his association with Majestic Park Plaza was installing and handling over the cold room project for the Indian Army in the Leh sector of Dras Kargil in a record 7 days' time in 2001. He also worked as the regional head for Blue Star Limited. Panelists, I'll leave you to your session chair, Mr. Ravichandran Purushottamam. Sir, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. So welcome to this session. It's a pretty important session. As you know, we are at the cusp of transformation as a nation. And at the same time, when you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, there's not one thing that we can talk about here, but there are many things we can talk about here about this sector, simply because a sustainable cold chain actually touches more than 7 to 8 sustainable development goals. And this is the most impactful sector for social and economic development of any nation, and particularly for India. I think we have a very interesting list of panelists in this session. We have someone who's providing technology, someone who is kind of disrupting, both energy efficiency and decarbonization as a startup, which is Nitin on my left. And we have the chairman of NCCD, who apparently is the one who's setting the formula of protocols and standards and driving the change that is needed in terms of transformation, both technology as well as policy intervention. And then, of course, we have Pragya here, who represents the cold chain industry. She's leading the cold chain task force. So we have a pretty interesting panelist here. I think before I invite the panelists to share their thought processes, I think this session is about reimagining India's cold chain. And when India is at 100, which is roughly 2047, how would we like to see India's cold chain, and how we all can make India's cold chain as the most sustainable cold chain, ever in the entire world. That's really the thought process behind this session. But I think before we kind of move into inviting the individual panelists, I'll kind of set the context here. 2022 has been a historical year for India. We have almost had the record production of horticulture. If I go by the government data, 230 plus million metric tons of fruits and vegetables have been harvested this year. Dairy, we have a very ambitious plan of doubling the dairy capacity in India from the current 200 million metric tons to about 400 million metric tons in the next 2 decades. The important aspect on dairy is that the processing levels of milk has gone up significantly from about 40% to almost 60-65% in the last 3 years, which is because of a lot of colleagues who are in the startup universe really disrupting, including Nitin in the milk industry as well. If you take the third sector, which is the fishery sector, I think we have a dedicated ministry now for fisheries, and cultivation on land is increasing both in terms of size and scale in India, which also is going to put a lot of focus on how we can build the sustainability element in our fishery sector as well in the future. Some of the things that we have looked at when we were building the cold chain in India was, I think in the early 2000, we thought the food retail will come and disrupt the Indian market, and we thought the cold chain industry would evolve quite dramatically. So we were all looking at FDI in food retail as a massive policy change that we wanted. But we all know that, India's evolution of the food retail is very different from US or Europe, because we still are a country with a lot of mom and pop stores. I think the digital revolution and the Swiggies of the world have transformed how meat is delivered, how milk is delivered, and how many products that are delivered as well. So I think we are kind of seeing very big shifts in this industry. And I think one of the unnoticed part of this industry is that the largest carbon emitter on food loss in India is the third largest emitter in the world in terms of its rankings actually. And of course, food loss is another big subject that, by setting up cold chain, we probably attack this from a different perspective, is what the thought process was. But I think there are several studies that have been done by several institutions, both NCCD, the different bodies. But what I would kind of come here with is that we are sitting at a point where we do not know whether we are missing capacities or we are missing something else. But the recent studies show that we have enough capacities, but we don't have enough throughput of really using this existing capacities 24/7 actually. There has been several statistics published in terms of reducing food loss. Pack houses, I think there was some estimate in the cooling action plan that India needs more than 100,000 pack houses, 60,000 reefers, and there was a number of initiatives that was part of that whole action plan that was laid out to reduce food losses. But having said that, the last 4 years, not 4 years I would say, ever since COVID came, or COVID was a kind of, an opportunity for this sector, I can tell you the amount of private sector investment that has come into cold chain during COVID. We haven't seen the kind of investment we have seen in the last maybe a decade as well actually. So COVID in a way has been good for the sector because it really put more focus on food and food distribution and food availability as well. But I think we are at a point where we talk today about cold chain sector being a very big cost element in our balance sheets. Today, the cost of transporting anything which is perishables is about 15% on our balance sheet compared to China, which is about 6 to 7% on our balance sheet. So on one side, we need to disrupt the cost. On the other side, we need to look at capacities. The third element of complexity that we deal with in the sector is that we have quite a lot of diverse producers coming from different pockets of India. And India is not just one country, it's a continent of 30 countries actually. So, all of this presents us with huge amount of challenges, but I also believe as an optimist, we have huge amount of opportunities as well to address some of these challenges actually. The government has done quite a bit of work. The MIDH, the mega food park schemes, the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, the doubling farmers' income, which was initiated under Professor Dr. Ashok Dalwai. I think the committee has looked at quite a lot of initiatives. The Gati Shakti master plan was actually another, great opportunity for us to disrupt the logistics cost, because for the first time we are attempting multimodal connection of perishables. So all of this has actually put the policy perspective in the right direction. But what I think we all now need to look at is that, are we really at the cusp of transformation, and what do we need to do differently from now on to transform this sector, to put ourselves in focus that when we look back at 2047, we should be proud of what we have achieved in India, and how do we make this sector even more sustainable than where we are today. So this is the contextual setting of what we would like the speakers to come out and talk. So I will start to invite one speaker by, after the other. And the first 3-4 minutes would be their take on what do they believe need to be done to make this more sustainable by 2047. And then we will jump into a few questions from my side and open it up for Q&A to the audience. So with that, I would now invite the first panelist, Mr. Ashish Fotidar. You as the Chief Operating Officer of NCCD, over to you now. You can share your thoughts on how do you believe this whole sustainable cold chain can be achieved by 2047.
Thank you, Ravi. Good morning, all. In fact, when Satish called me to attend this program, so मैं थोड़ा reluctant भी था इस बार, क्योंकि मेरे पास time नहीं था इस बार, because there are a lot of things which are going. But फिर मैंने एक चीज़ ये सोचा कि आना चाहिए, क्योंकि सबसे बड़ी जो मेरी सोच है, जो मुझे लगता है, what I think now, कि हम जब एक इंडस्ट्री की तरह रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं इस कोल्ड चेन को, इकट्ठे कभी बहुत बार नहीं आ पाते हैं. सो जब गवर्नमेंट के साथ इंटरफेस की बात होती है, तो गवर्नमेंट ऑलवेज लुक्स एट इट इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट इंडस्ट्री इज ट्राइंग टू अचीव, एंड ऑल्सो काइंड ऑफ क्या देना चाहती है वापस वो एज अ स्टेक होल्डर. बट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम आई हैव सीन ऑन काफ़ी सारे ऐसे जेनरिक प्लेटफॉर्म्स होते हैं जहाँ पे हम लोग जाते हैं और वी कीप ऑन डिस्कसिंग लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, बट वो सही माध्यम से या सही प्लेटफॉर्म से नहीं जाती है. तो इसलिए इस बार मंत्रालय ने ये सोचा कि एक शुरुआत करते हैं, जिसका जो पहला एडिशन था हमने अभी पीछे 19th को ही हमने कोल्ड चेन कॉन्क्लेव किया, क्योंकि पैंडमिक भी था 1-2 साल. और वो कोल्ड चेन कॉन्क्लेव वाज प्रिसाइजली फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ गेटिंग दी स्टेक होल्डर जो कोल्ड चेन इंडस्ट्री में है, वो अपने व्यूज़ दें, अपनी इश्यूज़ बताएं, क्या कारण है जिसकी वजह से हम इंडस्ट्री को बहुत बार हम पीछे फील करते हैं. मैं आपको बताऊं 2004-5 में when I was starting trying to push myself up the ladder in the cold chain sector, तो रिटेल की एंट्री हो रही थी इंडिया में, तो तब ये बोला गया था कि रिटेल इज़ गोइंग टू बी द नेक्स्ट रेवोल्यूशन लाइक द ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन इन इंडिया, और ये सनशाइन सेक्टर है हमारा कोल्ड चेन. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली हमारा जो सन है वो पीछे से है, तो कुछ किरणें हमारे ऊपर गिरती रहते हैं तो हमें लगता है ये सनशाइन है. तो इम्पॉर्टेंटली ये कि हमें अपनी दिशा को बदलना पड़ेगा, सो दैट वी टर्न अवर डायरेक्शन टुवर्ड द सन, तब जाके हम इसे सनशाइन भी बोल सकते हैं और बहुत कुछ कर सकते हैं. दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर जो मुझे लगता है कि कोई गवर्नमेंट एक इंजन की तरह है और हम बाकी जितने भी स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं बोगीज़ की तरह हैं. बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली क्या हमारी जितनी भी बोगीज़ हैं ये सब अलग अलग किसी मेल के साथ जुड़ी है, कोई पहाड़गंज जा रही है, कोई राजस्थान की तरफ निकल चुकी है, कोई जयपुर जा रहा है, कोई कहीं जा रहा है. सो इम्पॉर्टेंटली है कि हमें उस सरकारी इंजन के साथ जो इसको खींच रहा है, हमें सब बोगीज़ को जाके जोड़ना पड़ेगा, तब जाके कहीं आपको एक विविड चेंज दिखेगा इस सेक्टर के अंदर. इम्पॉर्टेंटली जब मैं एनसीसीडी के अंदर आया तो काफ़ी काम हुआ था, बट 2 साल पैंडेमिक का आया, फिर कुछ उससे पहले भी कुछ रुकावटें थी, या पॉलिसीज़ में काफ़ी सारा प्लेटफॉर्म बन चुका था, बट उसको आगे कैसे कैरी फॉरवर्ड करना था, तो उसके ऊपर मैंने थोड़ा सा आई काइंड ऑफ फोकस्ड ऑन दोज एरियाज. एंड मुझे लगा कि 5 ऐसी चीज़ें हैं जो मुझे अगले 3 साल में करनी चाहिए. उन 5 चीज़ों में सबसे पहला ये था कि जो पॉलिसीज़ हमने 2014 में जो MIDH के थ्रू हमने जो प्रोटोकॉल्स या जो गाइडलाइंस बनाई हैं उनको बदलने की ज़रूरत है. दैट वाज द फर्स्ट थिंग. सेकेंड थिंग जो असेसमेंट हुई है 2014 में और 2012 में, एक NHB ने करी थी और एक NCCD ने करी थी। NHB ने असेसमेंट करी थी विद रेफरेंस टू द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर दैट इज स्टैंडिंग, कितने कोल्ड स्टोरेजेस खड़े हैं, और एक जेनरिक प्रोडक्शन डेटा पे NCCD ने ये बता दिया कि इतनी गैप है कि 80,000, जैसे अभी रवि जी ने बताया कि 80,000 पैक हाउसेज हैं या इतने सारे कोल्ड स्टोरेज हैं या इतनी रीफर ट्रक चाहिए। दैट वाज डन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ कि प्रोडक्शन डेटा लेके उसको प्रोजेक्ट किया गया था। तो वो एक दूसरी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ थी। तीसरा था कि जो आज की डेट में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आज प्रॉब्लम क्या है। प्रॉब्लम है कि मान लीजिए हमारा, मैं एक एग्जांपल आपको देता हूँ। हम फॉर एग्जाम्पल लेट्स से वी आर सिटिंग इन दिल्ली, और दिल्ली की नॉर्थ की तरफ अगर हम जाएंगे तो हमारे पास 5 ऐसे स्टेट हैं जो बहुत ही प्रोडक्टिव स्टेट्स हैं, जैसे जम्मू कश्मीर हो गया, हिमाचल प्रदेश हो गया, पंजाब हो गया, हरियाणा भी है उसमें। बट प्रिसाइजली हरियाणा हब बन सकता है, इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ एन वो आउटलेट है जहाँ पे सब कुछ आ सकता है और बाहर निकल सकता है, बिकॉज उसकी कनेक्टिविटी बहुत अच्छी है बाकी रेस्ट ऑफ द इंडिया के साथ और विद द अदर स्टेट्स ऑल्सो। सो उसके पर्पज़ के हिसाब से हमने ये सोचा कि अगर हमें एक नेशनल ग्रिड क्रिएट करना है जिसमें हम नेशनल हाईवे ऑफ इंडिया को ये रिक्वेस्ट करें कि जब भी हमारा कोई भी जो पेरिशेबल प्रोडक्ट है जो कश्मीर से आ रहा है या हमें उसको चेन्नई की तरफ लेके जाना है या उसको हमें मुंबई के नवा शेवा लेके जाना है, तो मैं कौन से रास्ते से लेके जाऊँ। तो बोला आप बताइए आप कौन से रास्ते से लेके जाना चाहते हैं। तो उस ग्रिड की फॉर्मेशन के लिए बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट था कि हम ये अंडरस्टैंड करें कि हमारे जो एरियाज़ हैं उन एरिया से क्या ग्रो कर रहा है और उस सेक्टर के अंदर या उस एरिया के अंदर हमारे पास क्या आज की डेट में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर खड़ा है और क्या वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उस चीज़ को सपोर्ट कर रहा है कि नहीं। फॉर एग्जांपल मान लीजिए मैं जम्मू कश्मीर में सेब ग्रो कर रहा हूँ और वहाँ मैंने आलू के कोल्ड स्टोर लगा लिया, तो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर किस काम का हमारा हो गया। तो सिमिलरली अगर मैं पंजाब में जाऊँ या हरियाणा में जाऊँ, हिमाचल में जाऊँ, और वहाँ से अगर मैं लेके आता हूँ तो उसको मैं कहाँ लेके जाऊँ ताकि मैं उसको सीधे सीधे बाहर लेके जाऊँ, चाहे पोर्ट पे लेके जाऊँ या चाहे मैं उसको दूसरे अपने स्टेट्स में लेके जाऊँ। और वहाँ से जो चीज़ें आ रही हैं जिनको मुझे नॉर्थ की तरफ भेजना है, तो मुझे क्या करना पड़ेगा। तो मेरी समझ में ये आया और हमने ये डिस्कशन करी मंत्रालय के साथ कि हमें एक नेशनल ग्रिड बनाना चाहिए और नेशनल ग्रिड ग्रीन ग्रिड की एक फॉर्मेशन करनी चाहिए। बट उससे पहले हमें सबसे पहले ये ज़रूर देखना पड़ेगा कि असेसमेंट आज की डेट में आफ्टर MIDH हैज़ इनकॉर्पोरेटेड जो 2014 में किया था, 2022 में हम कहाँ पे हैं, 2023 में वेयर वी आर स्टैंडिंग राइट नाउ। सेकेंड, गैप एनालिसिस कितना है, कितना हाउ मच इज़ द पर्पज़ ऑफ इन टर्म्स ऑफ जो क्लस्टर हम अभी बात कर रहे हैं जो आजकल हमारे बजट में भी आया है, जो क्लस्टर डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम है, कितने क्लस्टर्स को हम जोड़ के उसमें से क्या आ रहा है उसको हम कैसे एक जगह एग्रीगेट करें और उसको कैसे ग्रिड के थ्रू बाहर भेजें। तो उन दो चीज़ों की स्टडी हो रही है, प्लस उसके बाद हम नेट ग्रिड की स्टडी करेंगे और नेट ग्रिड प्रपोज करेंगे सरकार को। और तीसरा और चौथा जो इंपॉर्टेंट है वो हमारी एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी और क्लाइमेट के ऊपर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंटली वी शुड फोकस। एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी का पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है कि बोलने के लिए एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी का मतलब है कि आप अपने सिस्टम्स के अंदर ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजी डालिए, ऐसे कंट्रोल्स डालिए जो आपको एनर्जी एफिशिएंट सिस्टम्स बनाते हैं। और क्लाइमेट के लिए आपको रेफ्रिजरेंट्स और काफ़ी सारी टेक्नोलॉजीज को इनकॉर्पोरेट करना पड़ेगा। तो ये सारी 5 ही चीज़ें हैं जिसके ऊपर हम आज काम कर रहे हैं एंड वी आर गोइंग टू टेक इट फॉरवर्ड सर।
Very good, very good. I'll come back to you, Mr. Ashish. I think these are all really very important 5 pillars for the transformation of the sector. Let me move on to Pankaj. Pankaj, you have been playing a very leading role in solving the transportation problem of the perishables. So your thoughts on how India should look at in 2047?
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you, AEEE. I think this has come at a very opportune moment. Thank you, Ravi, for setting the context. I think there are a couple of main themes that come to my mind. One is obviously our target for net zero 2070, which the PM has already set for the country. We heard in the morning session that it's not a question of why, it's a question of how. And we talked about some low-hanging fruits which can help us reach at least the midpoint 2030. We have targeted 45% reduction in greenhouse gases. The other context, that's one theme. The other theme is, we just heard, we are number one, number two in production. We are the largest dairy producer. We are number two, number three in agricultural produce. Fisheries is a huge opportunity. Number two, pharmaceutical. I mean, we've just gone through a very challenging time in COVID, and we know how important and critical cold chain was as far as vaccine distribution was concerned. So we have these two main themes. Now we may be number one, number two in production, but we all know that the losses are high. Numbers can vary, 18 to 25% is the estimate. We hardly have any share in the global food trade. Our processings are low. We have a lot of fragmented production. Ashish mentioned about cluster development. We need to galvanize, we need to have some scale of utilization of assets. Ravi also spoke about that. So cold chain can be definitely one of the low-hanging fruits that can help us reach net zero. Some global numbers are that 475 million tons of food is lost because of lack of refrigeration. And just refrigeration can help reduce this number by over 10% reduction of greenhouse gases. So it is a big target, and it's a very, I think, something that we must take on very seriously. We see, the first session itself on cold chain, so it shows the importance of the topic. When we talk about decarbonizations, we can go about how each of us can play a part in that. But I hand it over back to you, Ravi, to, and I'll elaborate more when I get a chance. Thanks.
Thank you, Pankaj. Let me move on to Nitin. A couple of weeks back, I was in the heart of India for dairy, which is Gujarat. And I was very impressed to see Amul, two large factories, almost close to decarbonization. Remarkable work, and they have used digital to leverage the entire plant decarbonization. And you being a very strong technology provider to this industry, certainly we would like to listen to your thoughts on how we can disrupt and create the dairy industry, which is a leading industry for the world, with your technologies.
Yeah, thanks. See, one of the main challenge which I face, people talk about factories, mega food parks, but at the end we are talking about cold chain. So this chain has to start from the first mile, and the first mile is the farm. In India, we have farmers with land holding of an acre. A farmer has 2 or 3 cows. At Amul also, a farmer is only delivering 10 liters of milk. So the main challenge which happens in India, I don't get Shimla apples in summer, not because of mega parks, because we don't have pack houses at the farm. So what we believe is that we need to have decentralized cold chain, something like your solar irrigation pumps. So it is not possible, it is not viable, even from a cost perspective, to bring grid at every farm. See, and what we have, so people believe cold chain is very expensive. I don't see cold chain is expensive. I will give you an example. A 5,000 liter BMC only costs 5 lakh. A 5 lakh of a BMC cools 10 crore of milk in a year. Now, if it is grid powered, it has 4 lakh of annual expense on grid. If it is diesel powered, the annual expense will go to 20 lakhs. And if we don't have good standards, then the cost of cooling from 4 lakh will go to 6 or 7 lakhs. So the challenge here is quite different, right? So it is about, it's about technology, I would say. See, one of the main challenge what we have is we always look after Western world. We follow them, we take their technologies, but in Western world there are 100 acres of, or 1,000 acres of farm. In India, we have 1 acre of farm, right? So we have to look into technologies which are made for India and made in India. So these are the things, right, where we are addressing upon. So one is your, of course, off-grid cold storage, which are working on solar. And these solar technologies are completely, I would say, grid resilient. 95% of time they can be out of grid. Second thing is that in the previous sessions, Satish ji was talking about hybrid car. So why don't we have a similar hybrid option for cold chain? So in a hybrid car, we have an engine and we have a motor, and both of them are working in tandem. which is creating energy efficiency. Same thing, so we have recently coined an idea of hybrid cold chain. We have a small compressor and a ice battery, and both of them are working in tandem to provide when you need very high cooling, right, for pre-coolings. So I think I have answered a little bit of the question.
Thank you. I think if I kind of dive into what your thought process is very closely what today morning Dr. Ajay Mathur mentioned about applications. And dairy is clearly one of the opportunistic applications where we can move a lot into standalone systems where it's energy efficiency, decarbonization and storage. And that's really what the example that you quoted actually. And there are already some very good lighthouse projects in India. The question is about how do we scale that. I'll come back to that in a moment actually. Let me move on to Pragya. Pragya, you have done quite a bit of work commodity-wise in different states of India. You've also looked at, with the Gati Shakti program, how to reduce the logistics cost for perishables. What are your thoughts on how we should build this whole cold chain in a sustainable way?
Hi, good morning, everyone. So Ravi, before we come to your question, I'll just want to highlight one thing. When we are talking about ensuring a sustainable cold chain in India, I think the first, a very critical factor that we should look at is leaving no one behind. So you look at any supply chain, if you are able to convince all the stakeholders in that supply chain and you are able to demonstrate the positive impact which the cold supply chain would have, be it economical, be it environmental or a social impact to each of the member, then we are able to ensure that by 2047, whatever we are talking, whether it's the acceptance of the technology, the deployment of the right technologies, will come in India. Now, looking back as, how do we ensure that we are able to expand the demonstration that we are doing? It's again, like Dr. was saying, one technology is not suitable for everything. So it's very important for a country like us that we are ready to customize our business models. And as soon as we go on to the farm and we are able to customize our business models, the success will come, the adoption of the cold chain comes.
Thank you, Pragya. Let me move on to Ashish. Ashish, NCCD, came up with the CA storage facilities. And when I look at specifically to apples as an example, I've been on ground in the apple cultivation area for more than a decade now. I see there are very distinct behaviors from farmers. There are farmers who want to store apple and sell at the right price. They put up a very good infrastructure, the most energy efficient infrastructure. They invest in cold chain actually. There are small farmers who probably are not knowing the ability to fund them. They don't know the lack of access to technology, lack of access to funding, but they really don't go for these cold storages. So they go and kind of park their produce in a rental model kind of cold storages. Our observation on ground has been the ones that have invested with CapEx, they've really funded them well and they are seeing the life cycle cost and they've kind of decarbonized. But the small farmers, the rental farmers, they don't use technologies. But NCCD actually funds subsidy to this kind of infrastructure as well. But they're not energy efficient. There are no standards. There are standards in place, but the compliance is very low. So how do we enhance compliance? I know you all have come up with great standards, but the problem really is compliance. I mean, even this morning we talked about the state governments taking a lead. Where we have a national building code, the compliance on national building code on each of the states is very low. So how do you actually, if you want to envision a sustainable cold chain for the future, what are your thoughts on how do we make the regulation being, followed and regulation being implemented by the states?
My view is very simple on this. For example, let's say as in government agency or as in regulatory body, we can formulate policies in terms of when we look at the overall, business module in terms of what is important in terms of development of cold chain. Now, when we talk of sustainable cold chain, or per se, when we talk of how do we kind of energize this model of, creating a sustainable cold chain, I am very, very sure that can be done only with the help of industry. If industry takes a leap and move ahead and kind of move in that direction where they also kind of do a benchmarking that, in next 2 years, 3 years down the line, they start, one is investing in the technology and then kind of moving only with those technologies, which are going to be sustainable in next 5 years, 10 years in terms, maybe it will take some more time for us to understand. But then as an agency, as NCCD or as any other regulatory body, we can only kind of make policies to kind of, which can be followed. But finally, the product development or the kind of energy which is to be provided for making it sustainable has to be provided from the industry. Where I think we're still lacking a bit, because that's what I told in my opening remark, that, we are moving ahead, but, we are moving in different directions. That is what industry has to come. They have to sit together and kind of decide on a policy, yes, for the purpose of sustainable development, for the purpose of energy efficiency, for the purpose of climate. This is what we need to do for the next, 5 years or 10 years, and now we need to work on that so that, we are at what we started this whole about, in 2047. We need to be at that point.
Thank you. Pankaj, when I look at what's happening in the country in terms of Gati Shakti and the infrastructure, now we talk about 4 hours less to Mumbai from Delhi and 2 hours less from Bangalore to Chennai and 3 hours less from Calcutta to Thing. There's going to be a huge disruption on large warehouses. And given this, don't you see it's an opportunity for, more and more refrigerated trucks of larger capacities, and maybe electrify them could be the future? What are your thoughts on the technological aspects for the future for India?
Thanks, Ravi, for the question. So, the way I see today, and all of us here mentioned that the speed at which cold chain should be growing, it's not happening. Ashish mentioned about regulation, Ravi mentioned about various aspects. So, we all know it has to be done. What is holding it back? Now, if you step back and think, one of the reasons is the cost of logistics, and that's not only cold chain cost, but overall our cost of logistics is, I think, 14-15% compared to 7-8 overseas. The infrastructure that we have today in the country is all road-based, and road, as you all know, is the highest per tonnage that you can spend on logistics. So, I think one of the important things which Gati Shakti and National Logistics Plan is emphasized is we talk about multimodal modes of transportation. Now this I think is very, very crucial if we have to bring down cost. The other is when we talk multimodal, it's also going to reduce cost and time, for the product to move from place A to place B. Unlike the other products where cost is the most important, I think for perishable products, the time to reach destination again is very, very important. We talk about India as a continent. So today, a product takes as high as 6 to 8 days from reaching from one end to the country to another. So we feel that these, the focus on multimodal, the focus on reducing cost and increasing or improving the time to destination will be big enablers for the cold chain logistics sector. Coming to your point on larger trailers, now we see in India, we're still talking truck. And now in the last maybe 5 years, we're also talking last mile refrigerated vans, which is again a very crucial part. But what is missing is the larger trailers or the containers on the road, and most large geographies in the world, whether if you take it USA or Australia, which are the large geographies, it's predominantly the larger trailers, the intermodal containers, which can definitely help reduce the per tonnage cost of refrigerated product. And I think, again, good roads, multimodal hubs, the ability to transship from one mode to another, the ability to reach into the production area. See today, most of our product doesn't enter the cold chain because there is no access to the cold chain there. So when we have that kind of infrastructure which reaches the farmers, which reaches the production areas, and then we are able to create a hub and spoke model across the country with multimodal capabilities, I think that will be a big, big enabler. And before I leave, I would just want to leave one more thought is, the future of cold chain in India will definitely be a digital cold chain. See, today a big problem is again the visibility of the product across the country. Now these are highly perishable products. The person who's assigning a transporter to carry it, he needs to know where his consignment is, whether it's in good hands, whether it's in the right temperature. So the way I see it is, it will be a digitally enabled, healthy, safe, and sustainable cold chain. That will be the cold chain of the future. Thanks.
So digital cold chain, digital decarbonization. I think these are the two takeaways from what you're saying actually, in terms of both efficiency as well as reducing the cost. Pragya, when you look at India compared to very matured markets like Americas, for example, coincidentally, India and northern part of America have the same capacity of storage. You know, not many of us know that, but it's the same capacity of storage. But North America, the number of owners of the entire capacity is only 10 people who own the entire storage. Whereas in India, it's more than 10,000 owners of. So we have a very fragmented cold storage model in India, which is good in a way, but at the same time, it puts a lot of emphasis when it comes to energy efficiency and decarbonization, a lot of need for higher skills and capabilities across all these 10,000 locations actually. So what are your thoughts? I mean, do you see skilling and related activities is very pivotal for both sustainable cold chain and decarbonization?
Definitely, I think that is one of the most important pillar when we are talking about the deployment of sustainable cold chain across the country. Since it's a large country, skill development and also the capacity building. So wherever you are talking about the technologies, the new technologies, you need skill, manpower to operate it as well, which is lacking. And also on the other side, the people who are using the cold chain needs to be made aware of why do they need to use cold chain, what benefits is it leading. So the capacity building program becomes very, very critical when it comes to the acceptance of cold chain, specifically for the farmer groups. And I think that has already been, in our previous work that we have been doing as a task force, when we are looking at commodity specific approach, that has come up in a big manner. One, making people aware why do they need it, what exactly do they need, so that's the capacity building piece. But once you have deployed some infrastructure, some energy efficient infrastructure, you also need to have skilled manpower to operate it, to ensure that it operates efficiently. So it's one part, it is just creating the infrastructure, and also to ensure that the operational efficiency is also achieved is very, very critical.
Thank you. Nitin, several years back in one of our task forces, ripening chamber was a big shortage in India, and especially mango ripening was a big, big challenge, and many of the mangoes that were out in the market were using non-ethylene kind of ripening technologies, and you know the harmfulness of bad ripening for these fruits. So we looked at some technological innovations, and can we put our ripening chamber on a mobile truck so that when the first mangoes arrive in Ratnagiri in the month of April, it can go, the same truck can go to Maldai over a 4-month period, because CapEx is becoming a major challenge for farmers actually, and you are in the business of standalone cold rooms. What are your thoughts in terms of future innovations that India needs in order to disrupt this? Because many of the existing CapEx models are, we need an Ola for cooling, we need an Ola for ripening, we need an Ola for whatever it is. So, but you are in this space, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, very good question. So, see, I believe doing a mobile milk cooling, mobile ripening is more like killing a bird with a bullet. Mobile cooling needs diesel a lot. So, my preference would be to have a decentralized ripening center. So, we do have 4 to 5 installations of cold storages which are addressing the banana ripening in Karnataka. So, so the earlier the problem these ripening business holders were having was unreliable power. So, 8 hour of power cut. At night, 2 o'clock, if the power cut happens, he need to go and turn on the diesel. Then he was becoming very greedy. So, okay, so he was just watching out the temperature. If the temperature goes above 15 degree, I will turn it on. If it goes below 12, I will turn it off. So these are the kind of incompliances, right, which these guys were following. And at the end, the ripening chambers were not working out. So what we did there was, we first told, okay, why don't you use these ice batteries? This is more like your home inverter without a expensive electrical battery, it's just an ice battery, and this would work at only for 8 hours of grid any time of the day and completely fully automatic, right, with no user intervention. So that thing started catching up, people were quite happy. Later we told, okay, why don't you do also a solar on top of it, because solar can reduce your grid electricity cost, the payback will be about 5 years. So that is, so what we believe is that these kind of decentralized solutions for ripening, even for fish. So we have installations right now for fish. We are talking to government of Ethiopia, Philippines. So we are doing installations with Jordan Army, Indian Army, for decentralized cold storage. So idea for us is that don't move and do the cooling. So in fact, right, you talked about Amul. So Amul cools the milk and keeps it in Gujarat. And ice cream is manufactured in Gurgaon because it doesn't make sense to transport ice cream. So what they do is they will transport milk in insulated trucks, and these insulated trucks are designed in a way that you don't need cooling on the wheel. The system will maintain the temperature because you have a lot of thermal mass. So even for 24 hours of drive, the temperature will hardly go up by 1 degree.
Yeah, I think that's really, you kind of hit the nail that you really use the value addition close to where the consumption is basically, and that keeps the energy profile low. That's really the thought process. I almost have a warning from the organizers to wind up, but we'll open it up for a few questions. I'll take a couple of questions and then put it on to the panelists. I will decide who will answer which question, and if I can't find the right panelist, then you can raise your hands, you know. So.
Thank you so much for the amazing session. I am Vanshaj Kaul with Eurovan certification. Formerly, I was with NCCD. My question is very simple. When we talk about food loss, are we talking about actual organic loss, or are we talking about loss of perceived value? Why I ask this question is because when we talk about the supply chain, let's take example of apples. Now, even in the supply chain, even C-grade apples are salvaged. Some economic value is salvaged out of it. If it's a total loss, it's a problem. So my question is, do we need to redefine our thinking about, if it is this value chain we are talking about, not the organic loss? A follow-up question on that is, we are not talking about decentralization of consumption centers. Our consumption centers are the same. We are building all of our infrastructure thinking about 4 major cities. How important is it that we start thinking about decentralization of our consumption centers? Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take 2 more questions and then I will divert them. Yeah.
Hi.
Question
Good
1
afternoon.
is to Ashish, what you
Yeah.
just heard is to you. Because
Hi, good afternoon. This is Alok Pandey. I represent AEEE in Sustainable Cold Chain Project in Bihar. My question is to Ashish sir. Sir, actually I have been engaging stakeholders, be it policymaker in state or direct beneficiary stakeholder on ground. Their major apprehensions used to be on like which kind of design, refrigeration technology, or which kind of structure or what kind of space they would require. Recently, a few days back, I was talking with one stakeholder in Bhagalpur, that is a GI tagged Jardalu mangoes belt. So that fellow was quite enthusiastic about having one pack house, but was not aware about the protocols and building design size. So being an incubating organization, NCCD can think of engaging some awareness program in state or national level, like we have been seeing many program on mission mode, like millet program. Recently we are having Jal Jeevan Haryali program in states. So can this cold chain awareness program get that kind of mission mode, project kind of work, so that NCCD can engage so many implementing organizations in states also, so that these thought process can reach up to direct beneficiary level.
I think the question is clear now. Maybe you can respond to these two questions. Then we'll take one last one after that. Yeah.
I'll answer first question. Vanshaj, it is when we speak about the food loss, it is about the kind of when we collate the data in terms of what we are producing and what we are trying to kind of get the revenues and how the farmer is benefiting. It is not about organic loss, what we are kind of generating and how does it go into the C grade or how does it is processed. So we have to be very amply clear that we are on the scale of upward trend. We told you earlier also that this year we have grown by 3 and 3.2% year-on-year basis in the terms of overall production in the agriculture sector. So do we have the adequate facilities to kind of first supplement that growth and then also understand how do we now move into the purpose of becoming the food basket of the world? See, lately you would have seen there was a war, and how India kind of supplemented the whole supply chain by providing wheat and other things. So the point is, how do we kind of benefit by these technologies and kind of add value to the farmers who is actually doing the whole lot of effort to get these things done at the farm level. That was one. Second thing is Bihar. See, we what we have tried to do now in NCCD, we are moving on a very fast track. So how do we move? Seeing the kind of regulations we have to go through in a government channel, we have to be kind of very much in the module. So what we did was we have started to kind of engage with a lot of those agencies who are into the field and doing these kind of activities. Like say, we may be entering an MOU with maybe some of the industry stakeholders who are doing this. But now we want to kind of join with them and tell them this is what government policies are and how you should propagate technology along with what government is thinking. So it makes a simpler effort to you reach and we are there with you. We are entering into an MOU which we already announced in the India Cold Chain Conclave. We are going to enter into an agreement MOU with ISHRE. ISHRE has 20,000 members. So 12,500 is their members which are from the industry, and 7,500 is approximately from the students. So they do a lot of programs. They do a research program. They have international fairs by ECREX, by the name ECREX and RefCold. Then they have a lot of trainings. Then they have a lot of awareness programs. They have a journal also. So what we are now trying to do them that we are going to, as a government agency, what is our role? Our role is not sit behind and see what people are doing. Our role is to kind of make an interface what the industry is doing and what government is intending to. So once this MOU gets into the agreement form, then you will see lot of NCCD everywhere in next.
So it's a
3-4
public-private
months.
partnership model that will only be kind of scalable actually. One last question.
Ravi,
Yeah.
can I just add
Please,
a
please.
point? So I would just like to comment on the food loss perception. Now it's actually a very interesting, very pertinent point, because very rightfully, you don't see mounds or tons of food thrown. So it's not like 20% or 25% of the food is dumped somewhere, right? So to that extent, yes, it's a economic value. But what is the economic value that actually should be realized? I'll give you an example. Okay, we did a project for a fruit called Kino in Punjab, right? It is typically sold at 20 rupees a kg in Punjab and around Delhi. It never traveled to the rest of the country. Frankly, in Mumbai, where I stay, my kids had never even heard of what this fruit is. And it's a beautiful looking, very orange, very nutritious fruit. So I used to always feel that, you know, why can't this come down to Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai? At Carrier, we decided, let's understand the problem, let's work on this, try and solve this problem as one example. Like it's a show and tell, let's make a viable cold chain. We worked with a farmer for 2 years. We were able to successfully take the fruit from Punjab, Abohar, to Bangalore. 37 trucks of fruit were taken there with zero wastage. I mean, it obviously involved changing the packaging, changing the pre-cooling, but zero wastage. And the value the farmer realized in Bangalore was 60 rupees average. It went up to 80 to 100 rupees, but 60 rupees average. So when you talk about economic loss, are you comparing 20 rupees to zero, or are you comparing 60 rupees to zero? So what is the actual realizable value a farmer can get if he uses cold chain and if he goes to market where the consumption is there, where the demand is there? I mean, my friend mentioned that we don't see Indian apples or Indian kiwis in our markets, whereas the imported fruit is able to find its way, and there is a demand, there is a price that the consumers are willing to pay for it. So what is this economic loss we are talking about?
I think
It's
we should shift our focus, sorry to come in, we should shift our focus to value addition. One example, quick one I'll give you is, you know, our current realization of prices of banana for a farmer is 20 rupees at farm gate. When you compare that with Philippines and Indonesia, they are realizing 60 rupees. The 40 rupees is coming from value addition. Yeah. Cold chain is a value addition. Exactly. It helps you to reach customers at a better price realization. So we need to change our thinking and the mindset as well on what metrics we go after if we want to build a sustainable cold chain. One last question.
Precisely, yeah.
I'll add to what Ravi and Pankaj said. See, what you, Pankaj, said and what Sir also said is, you know, why we are not able to see, you know, most of the Indian fruits in the market and why there's a demand for imported apple. The point is not cold chain here. The point is how do we produce it? So we, you know, now we are moving at a very faster pace. We have now started a clean planting material program. In next 2 to 3 years, you will see we are going into the high density. We are going into a different variety of clean planting material where we will be doing every state which is, you know, kind of doing this, which are growers. They have now their own centers where plants would be kind of scrutinized and then they would be sent into the fields for the purpose of growing. So next generation of produce which is going to come is going to be beautiful and bountiful.
I think just to sum up for one pause of time, I'm sorry sir, we already have the next panel waiting, but we can take it offline if it's okay with you, but just final words from my side. Building sustainable cold chain requires many things to be fixed. But I think paramount of that is to have a vision of building that cold chain actually. And I think that vision has to be set for us of what do we want to be seen in 2047 as a nation in terms of sustainable cold chain. We heard a lot of great examples of what Dr. Ajay Mathur spoke about this morning, applications. You heard something from how applications using technology was applied in the Kino example from Carrier to what you heard from the standalone milk cooling applications to several concepts in terms of protocols and technologies that can be deployed in different commodities. So application is very important, and what kind of applications we go after, 5-year perspective, 10-year perspective, 15-year perspective. This is another perspective planning is needed in order to build the whole vision for sustainable cold chain. Lastly, of course, carrot and stick, you know, regulation is very important. Otherwise, it doesn't drive behavior. And remember, decarbonization is not just about numbers and energy efficiency and technology and money. It's about social transformation as well. And I think this is one sector which can actually help us to rally around all the 1.4 billion people and make a difference to this planet and make India shine in the rest of the world. Thank you very much for being patiently listening to this session actually.
Mr. Purushottamam, Dr. Nitin Goyal, Mr. Pankaj Mehta, Ms. Pragya Nehru, and Mr. Ashish Photedar. Thank you very much for this excellent panel. I know there are many eager questions in the audience, but I would request you to please take it up with the panel during lunch. May I please invite Dr. Bhaskar Natarajan to kindly sort of show our token of thanks to the session chair and panelists.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.